You should have just finished your Unit 3 Lesson 3 notes, and it's time to do some practice. And these are all of our math stories. They're our word problems. So I am going to show you a word problem, and I'm going to have you solve it out on your whiteboard. Here is your first one, and today I have 6 for you. Okay, I'll read it to you. The Garcia family volunteers at the Chestnut Street Community Garden. Half of the garden is used for growing vegetables. 1/4 of the vegetable section is used for growing tomatoes. What fraction of the garden is used for growing tomatoes? Okay, so we want to know what fraction of the garden. So we're trying to find a part of a part. That means multiplication. So press pause, write out an equation, and solve it. Press play when you're ready. Okay, so if half of the garden is used for growing vegetables and 1/4 of that is used for growing tomatoes, that means I want to take 1/4 of 1/2. Now, if you wrote 1/2 times 1/4, you're going to get the same answer because the commutative property of multiplication works for fractions too. It works for everything with multiplication. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 1/8 of the garden. That's your first one. Okay, erase. Here's your next one. So same person here. Mrs. Garcia picked 4/5 of a pound of tomatoes from the garden. She used 5/6 of what she picked, to make a batch of salsa. How many pounds of tomatoes did Miss Garcia use to make her salsa? Well, she used 5/6 of the 4/5. So 5/6 of 4/5. Solve it out. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 5 is 30. I'm hoping you didn't leave your answer like this. If you did, it's not the end of the world. But now look at that. 20 over 30. What's the largest number that goes into 20 and 30? 10. I can divide them both by 10, and I would get 2/3 of a pound. 2/3 of a pound of tomatoes. Okay, next one. Erase that. It says, Jay works at a sandwich shop. He needs to make 7 turkey sandwiches. Each sandwich will have 1/3 of a pound of turkey. How many pounds of turkey will Jay need to make the sandwiches? Now you go ahead and write an equation and solve it. Press play when you're ready. Okay, so each sandwich will have 1/3 of a pound. So that means I want to take 1/3 of 7 sandwiches. So you should be taking 1/3 times 7. If you wrote 7 times 1/3, that's okay. Now, when I multiply fractions, I'm supposed to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. When I see that I have a whole number without a denominator, I put a 1 under it. 1 times 7 is 7. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, this is improper. Let's fix it up. So I can fit 2 groups of 3/3 into 7/3. 3 times 2 is 6. There's 1 left over out of 3. So he would need 2 1/3, let's see, pounds. LBS, 2 1/3 pounds to make the 7 sandwiches. Okay, erase. Next. Okay, Mrs. Jade is baking 9 cakes for a bake sale. The cake recipe calls for 3/8 of a cup of sugar for each cake. How many cups of sugar will she need in all? Now I know when you see in all, we think, oh, this is addition. It's not. When you see those words like in total or in all, that could mean multiplication as well. And the way to tell is this of. I'm taking part of a whole, okay? So if Miss Jade is baking 9 cakes and the recipe calls for 3/8 of a cup for each one, that means 3/8 of 9. So 3/8 times 9 is your equation. I should put a 1 underneath that. 9 times 3 is 27. 8 times 1 is 8. Now let's simplify it up. 8 times 3 gets me closest to 27. 8 times 3 is 24. And then 25, 26, 27, 3 left out of 8. So 3 3/8 cups of sugar. Okay, 2 left. Number 5. 1/6 of the garden is used for growing petunias. 3/4 of the petunias are pink. What fraction of the garden is pink petunias? So 3/4 of 1/6. When you hear 3/4 of 1/6, that means multiplication. So go for it. Solve it out and press play when you're ready. 3/4 times 1/6. 3/4 of 1/6. I'm going to multiply my numerators. I multiply my denominators. And 3/24 is okay, but we can write it in a better way because 3 goes into both of those. So you should divide them both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So 1/8 of the garden is pink petunias. That's fun to say. All right, here's your last one. Half of the people who live in the neighborhood volunteer at the community garden. 4/5 of those volunteers are teenagers. So 4/5 of half of the people that volunteer are teenagers. What fraction of the volunteers are teenagers? Press pause and then press play when you're ready. So 4/5 of 1/2 would mean 4/5 times 1/2. 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. Now 4/10 is okay. However, it can be simplified. 2 goes into both of those. So for your final answer, I would much prefer you to have 2/5 of the volunteers. Are teenagers. All right, you are all set. See you soon.